Hello, friends, and welcome to the Monday Show 30. I'm your host, Wes. With me, as always, my good friend Roots. 30 weeks of the Monday Show. I'm speechless. I don't know what to say. It seems like just yesterday we were laying down the concept, and now here we are all these weeks later, still trucking.
Yeah, time's flying. You know, it's funny. Was just thinking it was 50. It was Monday show week 50, and then I thought, no, that's the other show. Yeah, but 30 weeks. That's crazy. Just flying.
Yeah, 30 weeks. And to be honest, we've spent many of the last several of these weeks planning out what we're going to be talking about today. And I'm excited, Roots. I think we've got a good episode today. Again, one that was many weeks in the making, and had fun putting in the time for this one.
Yeah, it's crazy that it took that many weeks to finally get it finished, because it took a lot of co-op time, and believe it or not, it's hard to get together sometimes. So,
well, we live in two different time zones. We work on two totally different schedules, and it's all we can do just to get together and do shows, right? So on top of that, if we're trying to get together to play games, it tends to be somewhat of a challenge to get together and play a single game. But today we are comparing 5 games, 4 of which are co-op games that we played together, and we could have we could have just played them separately and compared notes, but that's not what we wanted to do here. The co-op is the most important aspect of many of these games, so we felt that it wouldn't be right to just half-ass it. So we put in the time, and rather than rush this episode out a month ago, we're doing it today, and I think it's going to be pretty good.
yeah, me too. And it was, like you said, it was fun. It was fun putting it together, and I agree. I think all of these games, except for one, need to be co-op, or at least they're more fun co-op. And the 5th one, just because it's not co-op, is the only reason why, right? So
Not yet.
yeah, not yet.
Not yet. This is supposedly coming, but we'll get to that in a moment. What we're talking about here are arcade style racers. So these games are all similar but different in their own individual ways. Pretty much from the onset of VR, when we realize what the headset can do, immediately our brain starts to scan through the old flat games and what we would like to be able to jump inside through the magic of our VR headset. And invariably, one of the first games we always went to was Mario Kart, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to play Mario Kart in VR. And there was some pretty poor attempts in the early days of VR. And time just went on, and we wondered why no one would do it until what you're looking at right here, touring karts. Touring karts has a lot of good things going for it, Roots, but I think what it has going for it above all is this is the first good Mario Kart style game that we've had in VR.
Yeah, so good that when you said Mario Kart, I thought touring karts, and I hit the button, man. It's just that really triggered in my mind Mario Kart. But yeah, dude, this game, the beauty of it, as far as for me, is it really is the attacking each other, the grabbing the shit, throwing it stuff, the chaos. And there's nothing more like Mario Kart than getting fucked over 5 seconds before you cross the finish line. And this game does that very well, does it not?
Yeah, it does. And out of the 5 games we're talking about, I think we could consider 3 of them kart style racers. And of the 3 kart style racers, I think touring karts kind of captures the spirit of Mario Kart the best. This one, it's pretty obvious what it's trying to do here, right? It's trying to be Mario Kart. And that's not a bad thing, because if you can't have Mario Kart in VR, then next best thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, this thing is, like I said, it's definitely a gem. Now one of the things that this thing shines in all the other ones, and the other games that we're going to talk about that are like this actually have plans in the future, but this one actually is doing it now, and that incorporates the wheel. Being able to use your G29 or any of the other outside wheels is just phenomenal in this game. Whereas, like I said, the other ones don't. And being able to steer and still use your other controller, grabbing shit, and that's what's cool about this game is you're actually grabbing those question marks. Like you could go through those question marks all day long. If you don't reach up and grab it, at least in the setting that I use, you ain't doing it, dude. I think it does have a regular, like old school setup you could do as well if you don't want to be grabbing stuff. You just want to use a controller. But man, I think this one shines when you're actually grabbing and throwing stuff, and it just feels so different than like even Mario Kart did. Better in a lot of ways. So
Yeah, that's one of the strengths of touring carts. Options. There are so many options in this game, almost to a fault. I mean, like when it comes to the progression options, I kind of feel like it's a little too much. Like it's kind of confusing how to progress your vehicles and upgrade in this game, just because there's so much going on here, and it's kind of an interesting way that they've set it up. Uh, but yeah, I think Touring Carts does a good job of both. If you want like a classic Mario Kart style experience, you can do that. But it also takes advantage of everything that makes VR great. Like you mentioned, grabbing the weapons and actually using your hand to attack, and putting you in the cockpit. Uh, it Again, I mean, I don't know how else to say it. I think this is the closest thing to actual Mario Kart that we have right now. And I want to emphasize right now, because the fact of the matter is Mario Kart VR is coming. We know that day will get here. It actually is a real thing. If you go to some of these location based places, that they actually have a Mario Kart VR game. But I'm sure it's coming in the next gen. When Nintendo releases their VR headset, Mario Kart VR is probably going to be one of the very first things that come out. And I wouldn't be surprised if they take some inspiration from a game like Touring Carts.
yeah, yeah. I liked one of the things I like about touring carts as well is there's a lot of tracks, and it's been out for a while, and the devs are constantly working on it, constantly releasing updates, even just skins and stuff. So there's a lot of things to upgrade in here, and one of the things that I like the most about it is it's not all skins. Like I want to make my car look different, but I also want to upgrade. I want to make it faster. I want to do different stuff. I want to cheat when I play with Wes and have a better car than he does, and then he's wondering why he's losing, and then I know because my car, I've already upgraded some shit, but I didn't tell him that. So I'm telling you now, Wes, that's what one of the. And then as soon as he beat me one time, I was like, okay, let's go to the next one.
Yeah, I remember that. That was actually in the next game we were going to talk about. But yeah, no, I didn't wonder why, Roots. I knew that you had hours upon hours of experience in all of these games, and I expected coming in that that you were going to pretty much handle me, at least at the very beginning, and that very much played out. But let's talk about the developer here for a minute. This comes from Ivanovich Games. By the way, we'd like to thank Ivanovich Games for granting us access to this and allowing us to review it. But, you know, I expected that somebody was going to make a Mario Kart style game for VR. I did not expect it to be Ivanovich Games, who, for those of you who don't know, Ivanovich Games brought us Operation Warcade and Beat Blaster.
Mm.
So something like this seems a little bit out of their wheelhouse, but as good as those other games were, I kind of feel like this is a bigger, more refined experience. than either of those two other games.
Yeah, this one died very well. So, and one thing we forgot to mention is the boost. As you skid around those corners, they did this one very well. It does feel very reminiscent of Mario Kart, where you skid, and when you let off of it, it does that kick, like a boost, and it just feels so good. It feels so natural, so much so that because I used to love Mario Kart back in the day, and you could get some good rhythm going on. Yeah, it was definitely an enjoyable time, and I'll leave it on, at least for me, that monkey is a fucker, and I don't like him, so I'm just gonna. He's a bastard.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's something else too about this game is the how unique the weapons are. I mean, some of them are straightforward, banana peels and things like that, but the chicken gun, man, the chicken gun is something I've never experienced before in VR or flat. And there's tons of stuff like this. They've recently added the ability to blend your weapons, so you can actually pick up two and combine them and create a new weapon. It really makes for a lot of variability and a lot of uniqueness to each race.
Yeah, there's just a bunch of different ways to die, to fuck over each other, to get fucked over. And like I said, that's one of the best and worst things about this type of game is when you screw somebody over right before the finish line, you pass them, and you're like, sucker, or when they're doing it to you and you want to throw your controller and you're like, oh, fuck, man, I don't know. I just love it. It's frustratingly good. So.
Yeah, very good. A very good game. Definitely worth the $20 price tag that it comes with. This game's for all platforms, right, Bruce? It is out on Quest now, right? It's
Yep.
out on all platforms and cross-platform play, correct?
Oh, it's not. Is it on Touring Kart? I don't think. Isn't Touring Kart's not available on Quest, right? Isn't this the one that for some reason they're not? Um, They didn't put out on
Oh
Quest.
yeah. They made a Quest version, but they weren't able to get it published.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
Good
we're
catch,
not even
Roots.
joking this time. Usually we're like fucking with you guys, but now for some reason, yeah, I don't understand what touring carts. I still don't understand. The only reason why it sticks out in my mind is because every time we go to play this, like Scion, and we want to play some other games, it always comes up with gaming science teachers. She can't play it because it doesn't exist on the Quest, and it pisses me off every time. So,
Yeah, well, that kind of brings us to weaknesses. We've talked about the strength of this game. I think really the only one big weakness is probably the reason why it can't get published on the Quest store, and that is it does kind of have an indie feel to it every now and then. It doesn't seem like a AAA super polished experience when you're in it. You do deal with some occasional jank. You might see a word misspelled in the text every now and then. As polished as it is, and as far ahead of the previous efforts from Ivanovich goes, it's still pretty obviously an indie game. And if I had to ding it for anything, I think that would be the one negative thing I would have to say about it.
I'm trying to think of there's got to be some quests out there, some quest games out there that have more indie jank than this, though. You know what I mean? Like, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I'm not thinking that the Quest store is just so curated that it's, you know what I mean? That there's not anything worse than this. I still think it should be on there, but I don't know.
Yeah, I would point to the kart racer that is available on Oculus Quest. VR Karts is pretty notorious for being a crap game and janky all around. Not even originally developed for VR, a mobile game ported into VR and poorly done at that, from what I hear. It's kind of a different subject, but the Oculus Quest curation policies remain a mystery to all, including game developers.
Yeah, probably even the Oculus doesn't even know what the fuck they're doing. So I don't know.
Right. Anyway, all in all, a great game here. Loads of fun with friends. So as long as you're not playing on Oculus Quest, this is a great pickup if you're looking for a Mario Kart style racer.
Yep.
Okay, so Touring Kart's an awesome game, despite a bit of an indie feel. This certainly is not an issue for our next game, which is Mini Motor Racing X. This is a PlayStation VR exclusive from the Binary Mill. The Binary Mill, of course, known for Rush VR, another excellent game available on all VR platforms. Once again, we would like to thank the Binary Mill for granting us review access to this game. And Roots, as I was saying, indie jank, not so much an issue here. I think what this game's strength is the amount of polish that they put on it. This seems like a legit AAA racing experience.
Yeah, this game, well, it's funny because we started out playing, the first circuit, and it was cool. And then it seemed like every single race we went to got better and better. And we were even like marveling. We're like, oh my God, this looks so amazing. And granted, we're on PlayStation, so that's another reason. But everything about this, like even just the amount of different, almost like there's too many places you can. Wes got kind of lost at one point in some of the trying to do cameras, and I had already known because I started skipping around. And once you go past the first couple, like there's spots all around the track, and you go through those fuckers before you can get back to the car. So Wes is that race, you lost that one hands down by the time you got around to inside the car. But it's cool because you can hover over it. You can, like, it zooms you right down into it, and it's not like it's weird. It's like you're on top of it, and you're a little bit. It's just different, but it's really cool. I don't know. I really enjoyed this one, and this one to me felt more like racing than the other ones in a sense. Like I felt like I was really able to cut corners a certain way and box people out, and I really enjoyed it. It for the price of it, I think it is definitely hands down worth what it cost more than any of the other games, for sure.
Yeah, what Roots was talking about there is the point of view. This game gives you about 15 different points of view that you can race from, and but you don't get to like direct select. You have to scroll through them. So after you get past the first couple, you can end up somewhere on the other side of the track where you don't even see your car. And it's not like you can just click back into default view. You have to scroll through all of them to get back around. And what you're saying here is true about the way the game feels when you play it. And what I thought was one of the coolest things about this is the game feels very different depending upon your point of view. If you're standing out at third person, this very much feels like you're playing RC Pro-Am. But if you go down into that first person view, it feels a lot more like one of those kart racers. And the tracks, man, what is there, like 50 tracks for this thing?
Yeah, no, there's definitely, I think it might be 36, but I know that this one has, I think, had the most amount of tracks, and we didn't even scratch the surface. We got like through 10 of them or something. And that was one of the things I'm kind of bummed we didn't check out their bumper. I guess it's bumper ball or whatever, bumper something, but it's literally, to me, it looks like, what's that? That's on tip of my brain, that game that everybody loves to play. That's similar like that from Steam. Yeah. It'll come back to my mind. It's on the top.
Yeah.
It was on my mind a second ago. But anyway, it's just very, very cool. Everybody's always wanted to play that game in VR, and this would be the closest version of it. And it'd be nice if I knew what the game was called off the top of my mind. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed this game, and I almost wish it was not exclusive to PlayStation VR, just because it would be an amazing game to play on PC as well.
Yeah.
Rocket
Yeah,
League,
definitely.
Rocket League. That's what it is.
Oh yeah, Rocket League.
Yeah.
You're right. Rocket League.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that you're right. This would be a great pickup for PC if it were to ever come there. And I gotta imagine that it probably will come to PC at some point. The question is, do you think this game can run on Oculus Quest? I seem to. I mean, as beautiful as it was, not the most complex, textures in the world. I think they might be able to get this into Oculus Quest. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, definitely think it would be worth playing on Oculus Quest. But it makes me wonder, because we're playing it on the Pro, and it looked really good. So, I would be curious to see what they could do, what kind of magic they could do with the Quest.
It looked like it was from a Sony studio, right? When you get these PlayStation exclusives, there's a very visible difference between the games that come directly from PlayStation and third party games. And the Binary Mill did just absolutely a wonderful job, not only making everything look beautiful, but designing all of these, multiple different tracks. This game never feels like it's getting stale when you're going through it, because it's always something different, and just it's easy to play. Like the weapons don't need any explaining. It's a single button. I did have one gripe about this with the weapons. The game defaults to a system where your nitrous boost and your weapon is the same button. So you have to use all your nitrous before you can use your weapon, or vice versa. You can't pick and choose unless you go into the menu and separate the two.
Yeah, it was kind of a pain in the butt, but we figured that out, and then we were on our way. But yeah, I'm not big on being forced to waste my boost. I kind of need to use it when you need it. So, but no, this felt like literally, like you said, I was playing RC Pro Am in VR, and it was that polished. It just looked and played very well. And for $25, I can't think of a better racing game you can get for the PlayStation VR that's arcade style anyway. I mean, if you want to go, sim, obviously this is not a sim, but it's really good.
Yeah, masterful job here. A lot of diversity, not only in the play modes, but just the play styles, the points of view, and a lot of beautiful simplicity in the way that you play the game, and even the way that you progress. We had with the last game, Touring Karts, it was a little bit complex, the system of progression. Not so much here. Pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah, yeah, and you can unlock whatever vehicle you want and start, building it to be stronger. And this was another one I had a little bit of an advantage on you, and I guess this was the one that I noped out as soon as you beat me. But yeah, no, I want to get the cop car, man, or the bus, because who doesn't want to race a bus? Just shouldn't be on that course. It just
I was
cool.
kind of surprised at the stats on the bus, man. That thing actually had some pretty good stats on it. It was like pretty fast.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much every car was pretty viable. There was a little bit difference, but I don't know. I would imagine this would be a really cool game to play with, 4 people that or 3 people rather, so.
Yeah, a great game. Definite recommend. And I want to just go ahead and say that all 5 of the games that we're talking about today, all great in their own right, all different from one another, and I don't think there's one of them that we're not going to recommend. They're all very good. But let's talk a little bit about weaknesses here. Again, like the other one, there was only really one main weakness that I felt when I was playing this game, other than the minor gripe I had with the weapon controls. It felt a little bit slow to me. Like when I get into these racing games, every now and then I want it to get kind of fast and frantic. And even though it was exciting because the race was competitive and you're always on the edge of your seat trying to, beat Roots or not let Roots overtake me. I felt like the speed of the game overall was a little bit slow for my
And
liking. What did you think?
bite your tongue, man. That's just blasphemous. No, I don't know. I don't know if it was slow, but I mean, I can see what you're saying. I guess the nitrous oxide kind of can you can switch back and forth between who's in first and second, but no, I mean, I didn't feel it was slow, but I kind of see what you're saying. So
Yeah, the nitrous boost, it wasn't like on a lot of these games, if you hit the nitrous, you have this sustained acceleration period, where in this game it was just kind of a little pop. It kind of just pops you up real quick and then it's over. And it's definitely enough to give you an advantage if you're neck and neck with someone and you need to get out in front of them real quick. As a matter of fact, if it weren't for the nitrous, I would have never beat you because your car was faster than my car. So I had to pretty much just pound the nitrous to get a lead, and then try to maintain it with weapons. Every time you would try to get around me, I'd try to hit you to take the lead back from you. And it finally worked the last game we played.
yeah, and well, the key is to also use those those corners, hit those corners, zip around, and then as soon as you get around it, you hit that boost, and you can really use those boosts to get you ahead. So it's cool.
But yeah, besides the general speed of the game, which by the way could get faster as you progress and you update your car, the speed of the game probably will get faster. But from what I played of it, I would have liked for it to be a little faster, even just to start out.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of psyched to see what other courses they have, just because, like I said, it wasn't only, they just got more elaborate and cool, and you just would be like, wow, man, you're underwater or whatever the hell was going on. There was just weird shit, man. It was cool.
Yeah, it was definitely cool. Much like Ivanovich Games surprised us by developing touring carts. How about the Binary Mill, man, putting out this as a follow-up to Rush VR. I mean, completely different styles of game, but a similar level of quality between the two.
Yeah, I think it's crazy. I think it's cool when developers put out a bunch of different types of games, but they're just equally as good. Just shows their talent. So
very talented developers. All right, so Mini Motor Racing X, a very fun, somewhat intense, very versatile, racer, albeit a little slow. Not speed is not a problem for our next game that we're going to be talking about, and the game that I'm talking about is Radial G. Proteus. This is actually an Oculus Quest exclusive, so Mr. Roots did not get to check this one out quite yet, but I did, and I actually was looking forward to this one for quite a long time because this isn't the first iteration of Radial G in VR. Radial G's pretty much been around as long as VR has, but I've never quite gotten into one of the games to check it out. The general consensus, when I look at reviews and hear what people say about the older Radial G games, is that they're just all right. They're okay. They were good for their time. These are the sorts of things that you hear when people talk about the older Radial G games. Now, I was expecting a similar experience when I came into this one, and I got to say, Roots, I was completely impressed with this game. It was even better than I thought it was going to be. And dude, this is a fast game, even from the get-go. It feels like you're going about 1,000,000 miles an hour when you play this thing.
yeah, it looks pretty fast. So you can go all the way around, I guess. You can go upside down, or is there like penalties to the other side of the track? I'm assuming you sometimes you can't go underneath the other way, I'm assuming, right?
Well, the premise of the game is that you're racing on a tube. And yes, you can go all the way around it, but there are obstacles, so you have to kind of watch. You don't want to run into stuff that's on the track. Once you go into one of these things, like you're getting ready to go into here, uh, like when you're inside of a tube, you can hit special points on the track that will literally flip your car up, and you'll be riding on the ceiling now. But it changes your point of view. It's not all upside down. It just kind of turns you with the car, pilot point of view. Roots, it's pretty simple what they're trying to do here. And what it is that they're trying to do is make a wipeout style racer for Oculus Quest. And that's pretty much what this is. Like the structure of the game, the different game modes, all stuff that I've seen before in Wipeout. The speed of the game, the way that you play it, the way it handles, just like Wipeout. Now, I'm not saying it's as good as Wipeout. Wipeout is a bit more of a polished experience than this is. But if I had to compare this game to anything, Wipeout's it.
Yeah, well, you say that they're coming with multiplayer pretty soon, right? Or they're working on it?
Well, that's what I was told by the developers. When I got this key, I asked them about multiplayer, and they said that they were working on an update to introduce a new game mode, which would have kind of like this boss battle type of a race. Because again, this is like Wipeout. You'll race one race, which is just about racing and beating your opponent with speed. Then you'll have like a combat race where you have weapons and you're trying to destroy your opponent. Then you'll have a time trial mode where you're trying to beat a preset time. Again, just like Wipeout, all those different modes that Wipeout has, most of them are on this. But anyway, what they told me was is after they add that boss battle mode in, then they're going to turn their attention to multiplayer. And I can say from my experience, I just played this last night, the boss battle mode is in full effect. So I got to imagine that multiplayer is going to be next on the menu for this game.
Cool. Do you think it'll be something that will add a lot to it? I mean, obviously, playing against other players or racing is gonna add to it. But I mean, from your experience, was it something you were like, man, I wish there was people in here?
Yeah, absolutely. That was the one big weakness, the one big drawback for this game is that there is no multiplayer in it. It's absolutely one of the fastest, if not the fastest, arcade style racer of the games that we're talking about. A ton of fun. Like this game is so addictive, and the time went by so quickly when I was in it. I was completely impressed by it. That's really all that it needs, and it needs it in a bad way. Like if you could play this with a friend, dude, it would be one of the best in VR.
I look forward to it. Watching it, and this isn't a fault to the game, but it makes me want to play Stun Runner, man. I just from back in the day, someone needs to bring that into VR because every time I watch a game like this, I just want to jump on that thing. And I don't know how many quarters I put into that game, but I used to play that all the time. So
yeah, I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, it was just a similar type like this, but you were like on this thing, like a motorcycle and type of thing, and it just was really cool. I don't know, I liked it. I think Mamefan knows what I'm talking
this
about.
is cool. They have like these drift tracks where you can't actually steer it real well, and your car actually begins to rotate as you come to the end of it, and then it always ends up like jumping you off like a ramp, and then you straighten out in midair. Highly acrobatic, this game. Like you do a lot of aerial stuff, probably even more than you do in Wipeout. This game puts you in the air, and man, I just can't express enough how impressed I was by this, especially with it being something on Oculus Quest. This cell shaded look really works well in the Oculus Quest. Zero aliasing and just a bare small amount of foveated rendering off in the far peripheral. It looked beautiful. It played great. Again, just such a shame that I only had AI to play against. If they accomplish bringing this thing into multiplayer, you're going to see it's going to be awesome. Hopefully, it doesn't remain a Quest exclusive either. I'd like to see this come to every VR platform, PC and PlayStation included. I feel like this game could be a success if they expand their horizons a little bit.
Yeah, especially if they bring multiplayer, having that base in there would be good, right? So
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's the only thing it needs. It's got a ton of different game modes. It's it's got a bunch of different cars that are unlockable. It's got everything that you want out of this type of game except multiplayer. Uh, yeah, if the devs end up watching this, please make it a reality sooner rather than later. I'm really digging your game.
1 week it'll be out. It's coming. No, just kidding. Who knows?
Hey,
Maybe, yeah.
nice.
For all we know, it could be right on the horizon. So
You know what else this makes me excited about too? Seeing how good this type of art works on the Oculus Quest really kind of pumps me up for Lies Beneath, which comes out in just a couple weeks' time here.
oh man,
Has exactly this style of art, and let me tell you, Roots, and it looks really good on the Quest.
when you say lies beneath on the Quest, and I'm only shaking my head just because of some of the comments and people, and it just cracks me up, man. It's on the Quest, so it's not going to look good on the PC, man. They're building it for the Quest. It's going to look like shit on Oculus, you know. And I roll my eyes. I don't see the correlation on if it's on Quest, it's going to look like shit. It's just going to look like shit. No, man.
People always tend to make this assumption that if the game had been developed for PC, that the developer would have made it a lot better looking than it is. They always assume that the reason why the graphics are simplistic or the art style is simplistic is because of limitations from the hardware. Maybe this is what the game would have looked like anyway. You ever think about that?
I just think it's just so, to me, it's just very simplistic way of thinking. It's just like,
Yeah.
you know, it's just very, this is this, and it's just not always that. I don't even think it's probably not even most of the time that, but whatever.
Right. Well, I mean, we've had a couple of cases like, what was that? Journey of the Gods comes to mind. But in most cases, if a developer is capable of improving upon the visuals for PC, they do it.
Yeah.
And I feel like if they don't do it, it's probably because this is what they intended their game to look like in the first place.
Yeah.
You know?
Or the devs are lazy, you know. I mean, in the sense that, like you, and I'm not saying that Journey of the Gods or whatever was lazy, but you know, clearly they didn't take the time to do anything different. And just because they didn't doesn't mean other devs aren't going to, just because it's developed for the Quest as well. It's just very weird.
Anyway, when it comes to Radial G Proteus, if it comes out on PC and it looks exactly like it looks on Quest, it's going to look good. And I think Lies Beneath is in a similar situation. The cell shaded look, it doesn't have to have, you know, all this super mad detail to work. This is a different kind of art, and it works in VR like a lot of different things just work in VR.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, an absolute blast of a game. Radial G Proteus from Temeka Games. Again, thank you, Temeka Games, for allowing us access to your game. I was really blown away by this one. I expected to like it. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. Definitely worth the $25 price tag. If you have an Oculus Quest and you like fast games, and you have your VR legs, let me add that in there too. You kind of need to have your VR legs to play this game because it flips you and turns you in every different direction, and it's lightning quick. So, but definite recommend from Weasel.
Cool.
Okay, so if you're into this breakneck speeds and aggressive combat style racing, our next game is really going to appeal to you. And it's a game we've talked about before on our channel, Deathlap from Ozway Games. $20. this is the closest thing we have, Roots, to a classic PlayStation title, Twisted Metal in VR. Um, Only this is game is kind of structured a little differently. This is more of a battle race, kind of like Road Rash, but definitely a one of a kind in VR, at least at this point in time.
Yeah. Yeah. This one is actually definitely really fast paced as well. Very it was fun, especially the new arena mode that you Radio Runt and I played the other night. I was kind of bummed that there was only one course that was, I wanted more arena modes, because when I'm racing, it seems like the courses are so huge. Sometimes you don't see each other, but man, in that arena mode, man, we were just tearing it up, dude. It was just nonstop carnage, right? It's crazy.
So yeah, that was the thing. They added the arena mode, which is the Twisted Metal format. Everyone's against one another in a deathmatch type format, but there's only the one arena, and it's not a very big arena. Um, and really, I mean, I hate to start with the negatives on this one, but that's really been the criticism with Depth Lap for me is that it needs more tracks, right? Not just in arena mode, but in general. There's like what, 5 tracks for this one?
Yeah, yeah. It's actually this one and the next one, or that's the two biggest downsides. Is there's just not that many tracks, which is kind of ironic because the first two were the exact opposite. It was like, man, that's the strength. There's so many tracks. And it's the beauty of this game is like they can always add more. They can listen to the community and say, well, shit, we'll just start adding tracks, one every month or 2 months or whatever. I do like the different things you can do in this, like that barbed wire you can throw down, and you have all sorts of different weapons, guns. They added new, just a lot of different stuff on there. So I don't know. It's really is all about the killing in this one. Like they say, Death Lap. It's probably the most carnage in all of the games we played, comparatively, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it effectively blends first person shooter with racing, arcade racing, and because of that, it kind of got a mixed reception from the larger community. But as far as my taste goes, I think out of all the games, as far as the gameplay goes, this is probably my favorite one. I love playing this game. It's so much fun every time I go into it. Again, I like it so much. I really wish that there was more tracks to go into, because, after you put an hour into this game, you've played every track like 5 times, and really that's the only reason you move on to the next game is because you get tired of seeing the same tracks all the time.
Yeah, so hopefully they'll add more to it, more courses for that reason. But I don't know, I enjoy it. Like you said, it's definitely a lot of fun, a lot of carnage, and just a lot of screwing each other over. I don't know, the best thing about it is it really isn't. It seems very straightforward, and a lot of people in the beginning were kind of thinking it was, but there's a lot of different things between the shield and picking up different things and being able to do tricks and maneuvers. You can do like rolls and stuff over the jumps that actually give you back energy. And there's just a lot of ways to kind of feather the different things you need to do. Like I noticed when I'm playing against you, a lot of times it's hard to kill you because you're really good at using your shield, and it's not fair, man. You're not supposed to be defending yourself. I'm supposed to nuke you. You die, and then I laugh as I drive by, but not with Wes. Wes is doing a really good job of keeping himself safe with that shield. So,
yeah. So this is the one game out of all the games we played that I actually have the experience advantage on Roots. So unlike the other games where Roots is just thrashing me and kicking my ass, I've got the advantage in this one. But I got to say, I think Radio Runt pretty much handed it to both of us, didn't he?
Yeah, dude, he does that with every game, though, whether it's Audica or whatever. He just fine tunes it and just crushes it. But yeah, he did really good. actually, and I'd like to see a full match of 6 people together. I think that would be a lot of chaos. So far, three's the most I've seen in this game of people that I knew, including myself. So
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit about the strengths of this game. One, of like you just said, it's the up to 6 player multiplayer, but the tracks, even though there aren't many of them, there's just the 5 or whatever. Uh, they're all great. They're so like wide. It almost doesn't seem like you're on a path, right? It seems like almost all of them are arena, even though they're not. There's just so much room to move laterally, and since it's a battle as well as a race, you kind of need that room, right, to evade.
yeah. A lot of times you don't even know people are coming up from behind from a different angle as well. So there's a lot of strategy to it, and I don't know. I think the courses look amazing too, especially this one where you got the big dude's face in the sky, and I don't know. They just did this really well, and kind of psyched to see or hoping more, like we were saying, that there's going to be some more courses, because I think they need to at least double them, and then it'll be that much better. So
Yeah, and this is another good example of what we were just talking about with the Oculus Quest versus the Rift graphics. Pretty much indistinguishable playing this on the Rift or playing it on the Quest. It looks the same on both, but that's not a bad thing, right? It looks good. It looks good on Rift, doesn't it?
well, and then people neglect the fact that even if it's the same, it's still going to without the foveated, without super sampling, you're always going to get better thing with the Rift S or with whatever, at least to go against what those people are saying. But like you said, with the Quest, it was just, or at least from what you're saying, just as good, and amazing experience. And that's what a lot of things that people forget too. When you're racing and you're playing and you're getting immersed, you're not sitting there and looking for foveated rendering on a piece of hardware that's just, like we always say, is working some kind of magic to make it look that phenomenal. So
Yeah, if you're looking for shit like that while you're playing this game, you're probably not going to have very much fun because you're about to die.
Yeah.
This thing is so intense. You really have to focus in on it. And this is another cool thing I like about it too. More than one path. You've got these big wide tracks that you're racing down, but if you have a quick eye, there are shortcuts through every one of these tracks.
Yeah, they really did make the courses very unique and different, and like you said, a lot of different ways to get to the same destination. And it needs to be that way because you have a lot of shit going on and a lot of people, and that there's a lot of stuff that you have to avoid. So
yeah. So anyway, probably my favorite in terms of gameplay out of all the games that we're talking about today. Deathlap from Mosway Games. Strengths, again, the level design, absolutely awesome. The pace, I mean, it's breakneck speeds. The weapons are really diverse and easy to use. Weakness, again, just needs more tracks. I think something that they could do tomorrow, Roots, to improve this game is the arena mode, that deathmatch style of rule set. I think that they should implement those rules to these tracks so that we're playing in like, say, the track we're looking at right here, but we're not racing. We're just trying to kill one another. And there's a time limit, say 10 minutes. Whoever has the most kills at the end of 10 minutes wins. I feel like that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, why not? The courses are there. You just have to add that extra mode in, right? So
yeah, they could do that in the course of a couple of days. I'm pretty confident. And then you have 5 more, maps in effect for that gameplay mode. And that, again, adds a lot of replayability and a lot of value to your game.
Yeah, and what a value this game is for $20, right? That's actually a really good price for everything you get, even with if they never added another course or did anything to it. I think $20 is fair price for sure.
Yeah. The game as it is definitely worth $20. I mean, shit, man, what's $20 for compared? I mean, the time that I've put into this game already, it has been worth $20. If I never played again, I got my money's
Yeah.
worth. Assuming that I
Yeah.
paid for it,
Assuming
of
we
course,
didn't get it
which,
for free.
again, full disclosure, we did not pay for this game, but I would have, and if they took it from me today, I'd buy it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely worth $20 for sure.
All right, that's going to bring us to our last game of this comparison discussion, and this next one, Roots, is one that people can't even buy yet. Nah, 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 you can't buy it. Yeah. I'm talking about Dash Dash. Roots, is it Dash Dash World or is it just Dash Dash?
It's Dash Dash World, although every time I've ever heard anybody talk about it, they say Dash Dash. But then the world is like there. So I don't know. It's weird. It's a very weird way of doing it. But yeah, you can't buy this game. You can get into the beta pretty easily, or at least you have been able to. That's one thing that's weird about this, is that it's been in beta for a long time, and they just put it out there for everybody. But they're really doing a good job of getting feedback as well, because every race has a just a random question, and every player you're playing with, we all had different questions, and it's asking, what you think of the speed or what you think of the courses, and they just really are doing a good job of utilizing that beta, because you're already in there anyway, and it's a quick question to ask. You don't have to, you know what I mean? Like I don't know why every game doesn't do that. It's just really smart to me.
Yeah, this if you're talking about the strength of this Dash Dash game, at this point, it's definitely the developers. The developers of this game, they want to put out a full-on AAA experience, and they've had this thing in an open beta forever. And again, the footage that you're looking at, this is beta footage. This is not the final product quite yet. But Dash Dash is another kart racer. This is another Mario Kart style of game. But I kind of feel like it's the polar opposite of touring karts. This game is already polished to the nth degree. It's ready for the stores right now, in my opinion. Lightning fast, whereas touring karts is kind of a medium-paced game, and I felt like Mini Motor Racing X was kind of slow. Not the case here. This game is fast as it can possibly be, isn't it?
Yeah, and look at these courses, man. Like, I've made the comparison that if touring karts is Mario Kart, it's a Super Nintendo version, and this is the Nintendo 64 version, because that's when you saw this kind of graphic change when it came to Mario Kart. And this thing is the courses are so huge and elaborate and just phenomenal and so polished, and it's just everything about this game. Like you said, the developers really are top notch, and they're just fine tuning. My only complaint about this game is it just needs more courses. I think there's 5 or 6. They just added a Medusa course, or was that this one? I think that was this one. I don't know. I get them all confused now, but it's definitely one of those things that I think that they need to at least double their courses to compete with touring karts, which I think has 30 something. I don't know, or they have a lot anyway.
Yeah, touring karts has a lot more courses, but I feel like the design of these ones are kind of on a different level than touring karts. I mean, it's not even a contest. I mean, the tracks in Dash Dash World are probably the strength of the game for me. I mean, it's just an amazing ride. Again, not one for those who do not have their VR legs yet. This one, like Radial G Proteus, it's lightning quick, and it's all over the place, right?
Yeah, this particular course actually is what a gaming science teacher, last time we all raced, after a while, she's like, I'm feeling a little weird. And we ended up moving to a different game because of this one. I think it was this course. is so fast paced. And they say, yeah, this is the one that they say is the extreme course as well. I don't know if it's because it's spinning around or whipping around or whatever, but no, if I had to choose one that I enjoyed the most racing wise, this would be one of them for sure, just because it just feels so much like Mario Kart. You know, it's very done very well. And this one does not have wheel access, or you can't use your wheel yet, but they say they are adding the wheel to it, which has made Radio Runt really happy, because he's a big wheel person, and he was saying that was the only reason why he felt touring carts was better than this one, is because he could use his wheel. So
Yeah, well, I don't have a wheel, but I mean, without that in the equation, I feel like Dash Dash World is the best kart racer that I've played in VR, hands down, and it's not even close. You know, even though Touring Karts has way more tracks, even though it has wheel accessibility, the level of polish and design of these tracks, the speed of the game, just the beautiful graphics in general. I mean, this is a beautifully done game. I mean, it's hard to believe that this is from an indie developer, right? Whereas Touring Karts, it's obviously from an indie developer. It's hard to believe that this one's from an indie dev, right?
nah, you could easily say, you know, if you didn't know any better and someone put this on there, and you know, you could almost feel like it was a Mario Kart. You know, it's just done that well, and it looks that good. So
Yeah, 100%. I could see these guys being commissioned to do the next Mario Kart game just based on the strength of this one alone.
are you saying that Oculus should buy this studio up before Nintendo does? Maybe.
Maybe. You know, this game, Oculus Rift and Oculus Quest as well. I think that this game in particular might be one of the reasons why touring carts can't get on Quest, because the Oculus people know that this one's coming.
Yeah, that's probably true. It's just too similar in a sense, and they got all their eggs in this basket, and that, you know, I don't know. It's kind of a bummer for touring carts, but you know, I like this game, so either way, I'm happy. And this is probably going to be. I mean, this is obviously Oculus exclusive, right? They haven't. I mean, it's on the Quest, it's on the Rift S. They haven't really said for sure, but it feels like it. So,
yeah, it certainly seems to be the case here. Not only in the platforms that the beta is taking place on, but just the look and feel. It looks like an Oculus Studios production, doesn't it?
yeah, for sure.
Anyway, just an amazing game. The developers there at Motion X Studios, they should be proud of themselves. Price tag, Roots, what do you think this thing should launch for?
Honestly, I think it's going to make me feel a little bit sick inside to say it, but I think they should at minimum be $29.99. Probably could get away with 34, you know, but probably 29 would be a solid price that it's worth. It definitely needs to be more than the other ones, in my opinion, just because it's just that much more polished. So
I'd like to see a couple more tracks for it. Like you mentioned earlier, it's a little bit lacking in the different variety of tracks. So I think like Death Lap, we may put an hour into it and then be ready to play something else because we get tired of looking at the same track time and again.
True.
But I feel like if they were to add 2 or 3 more tracks to it, then it absolutely is a $30 to $35 game. Highly polished game here. Again, handles well, super quick. I like the variety of weapons that they had. A lot of creativity there. Even though mastering the weapons is a little, well, I found it to be a little bit difficult. What about you?
Yeah, after a little bit, you kind of figure out what to do, but they are very frustrating weapons in the sense that they just screw you over, man. The chicken gun on this one shoots eggs at you and it splatters on your face. And then the more that you see, the longer you can't see, or the more that they hit you, it just keeps getting worse. And it doesn't matter, man. Like, I can't hit people more than 1 or 2 eggs, but everybody hits me 10 times in a row, and then I can't see shit for 15 minutes. So it's like, what the fuck is going on? But no, I love the weapons in this, and they're unique. They're different. It does take a little bit to get used to them, but once you figure out how to use them, you can get very creative as well. So yeah, and they just added those new, I think that new machine gun, wasn't that this gun, right? And the battery things that you have to run over, gives you a special gun or something. I don't know, man. They're adding all sorts of shit to this. So.
Well, that's the thing, man. They just keep on shining it up. You know, in our opinion, that it's good enough as it is to release, but they just keep on going with it. So keep an eye out for this one when it hits the Oculus store. We will cover it again, I'm sure, at that point and let you know what we think about the final version. But as far as betas go, I mean, this is one of the better betas I've played this year, right?
Yeah, one of the things that we were even saying too, because you had mentioned it right off the bat before you played much of it. You said, you know, it's been in beta for so long, and they're giving the beta to everybody. It's like, well, you know, do you think that'll hurt their chances or hinder the game? But after playing it as much as we have, we've both agreed that shit, I would buy this game even though I've played the hell out of it. I want to own this game. That's a testament as well, because so many games that I've tried to beta, you play it enough and you're like, I don't need to own that game. I've already played it, you know? So you almost talk yourself out of buying it, but that's definitely not the case with this one.
Well, that is the power of multiplayer, Roots. It adds infinite replayability to these types of games. So again, going back to Radial G Proteus, I hope that that game gets multiplayer in short order, because if it does, it's going to be just a phenomenal experience. I kind of feel like if you take the Radial G Proteus, the Death Lap, and the touring carts and kind of jam them all together, Dash World's what you've got.
Yeah, it's pretty good, man. And you got 3 games in one, man. Definitely worth the price of admission, especially if you can get in now, because it's free, dude. Like, I've had 2 or 3 people join the beta in the last 2 weeks to play with us. So I know you can still get in it. So why not? Check it out.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's Dash World from Motion X Studio. Open beta continues. Maybe for years,
Yeah.
it would seem at this point, right?
Yeah, you'll be playing this forever, dude.
Sounds good. Sounds like a plan. Anyway, that's going to wrap up our comparison of battle/kart/arcade style racers in VR. We know about the older ones. You know, we've said enough about Wipeout and those other older games. We wanted to focus on the ones that came out this last year, because there's so many good ones, right?
Yeah. And not only that, but so many good devs, you know, like each one of these developers were amazing to us. And it's awesome to be able to put it all into one discussion and showcase all of them, and because every game is worth picking up and playing. So
yeah, absolutely. And again, to Ivanovich Games, The Binary Meal, to Mecha Games, Ozway Games, and Motion X Studio, thank you so much for participating in this and allowing us to play all your games and compare them. I know at least 3 of these developers. When I requested the key, I told them exactly what I had in mind and the kind of video and kind of discussion we were going to have. And they were all happy to participate. And that just goes to show the quality of these games, right? Because if the games weren't there, you know, in terms of quality, then I'm sure that these developers may not have been so forthcoming with us and generous.
yeah, or they would have been like some people where they're like constantly asking you questions, you know, and they're getting nervous, and you're like, yeah.
Right.
Because we want to do the best by everybody, but sometimes you get something and you're like, how do you cover this without, you know?
Well, lucky for us, we didn't have any legit stinkers, right?
Yeah.
We didn't have any that we had to leave off the list.
Yeah.
All of the games that we wanted to try uh, and include in this, they're all
Yeah.
here. There are no omissions, and every game was good in its own right. Everything a little different than the other. Uh, you know, what people, what the viewers are going to like is going to vary from person to person. I feel like all of these games have a spot in my library, if that makes any sense. They're all different enough that I want to keep them all, and I feel like I'll go back to playing every one of them.
Yeah, because they're all games, especially with the ones that we've been doing with Radio Runt or Gaming Science Teacher or whoever we've been playing with. You know, we've been bouncing around and playing them all together. So they're definitely worth having all of them because they're all different.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, if any of these have caught your eye and you're considering picking them up, you have our blessing. Um, if you have any questions about any of them, hit us up in our Discord. There's an invitation link down in the description. We're in there all the time talking about VR. So we realize that we've thrown a lot of information at you here, and we may have left something out that you're interested in. Just ask.
Yep, that's all you got to do.
Okay, so that's going to bring us to our discussion for this week. And I feel like our discussion this week is actually a pretty important one, Roots, because it's no secret that we're all kind of living in unprecedented, trying times. And it never goes lost upon me how lucky we are to live in America because we're not facing yet some of the hardships that other people around the world are. We can still go outside, but that isn't necessarily the case for a lot of people in Europe and Asia. And you know, maybe even tomorrow we might wake up and we might be confined to our room as well, right?
Yeah, it's looking like that. So you turn around, and the next thing you know, your city's the one that's being quarantined. I'm just glad I don't live in New York or Washington State or you know, any city that's Chicago, any city that's nah, I'm not even gonna go there. But yeah, there's just a lot of cities that aren't gonna be good to be in. Let's just put it that way. And yeah, it's getting sketchy. So
Yeah, a lot of isolationism going on right now, a lot of forced isolation, a lot of people craving not only just to be outside, to be in another place other than their room, but to be around other people. And it dawned upon us that we had a lot of new people come into VR recently. They may have received a VR headset as a gift during the holidays. And for those people, especially if they're locked inside their home, they may not realize just how much potential this technology has to help them escape this isolation and to get away at will, not only to visit limitless other spaces, but to do it with other people, right? And then I'm also going to call this discussion Exhibit A in the case against Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, who recently famously described VR as a isolating experience. I think we're going to pretty thoroughly disprove that today because what we're discussing are ways to escape quarantine through your VR headset. And Roots, we've got 10 ways listed here, but these are literally just the first ones that popped into our head. We could have probably just as easily written down 100, right?
Yeah. And I just want to throw out there, fuck you, Phil Spencer. You were wrong. You were wrong. So close to this whole thing. But yeah, you know, we picked 5 experiences or social experiences and 5 games. Just 5 ways to forget you're stuck in your house, really. And you know, there could be a case to be made that, you know, those of us with VR are gonna handle being quarantined a lot easier than somebody that isn't. I want to be in the world. I don't want to be looking through the window, man. If I'm stuck in my house and I'm looking outside through the window, that's not the same as being outside. You know what I mean? Like, so just that premise, I think it's a lot different to actually be able to not only be in a different space, but to be able to be in a different space with somebody else. It can totally make a big difference.
Yeah, that's a good analogy, actually. Looking through the window outside or actually being outside. That's kind of the difference when you think about the potential of monitors versus the potential of VR, because, uh, presence is one of the most important sensations that you get in VR. Not only the presence that you feel in these worlds that you visit, but the presence of others around you. You know, that's one of the very most powerful things about VR is that your loved ones who are halfway across the world can literally be standing right in front of you. And even though the technology isn't advanced enough for you to be able to feel what's going on, and you may not be able to see their face, it is their voice, right, Roots? And it's their personality. It's them just wearing a costume, right?
Yeah, not only that, but whatever you're doing, they're also in real time experiencing, seeing, hearing the same thing you know what I mean? You're seeing and hearing and experiencing. So that brings you together. You're laughing at the same part in a movie or whatever. There's something to be said about being in that space with that person. And then also, how many times have you taken off your headset and you're like, oh, fuck, I forgot I was in my room? Like when you're quarantined and you're stuck somewhere, that's a good thing to happen. And you ain't going to get that feeling looking at your TV. It's not going to happen.
Right, exactly. So yeah, we're going to detail 10 ways to escape quarantine through your VR headset. The first five we're talking about are going to just be social experiences, things that you can do with friends, things that you can do with family, ways for you all to get out. So even if your sister is trapped in Chicago in their room and you're in London, England, trapped in your room, you can both get out at a moment's notice. And there's lots of cool places to go, isn't there?
Yeah. Oh, shit, man. There's a ton of different cool places. Even just the first one that we're going to talk about, there's a plethora of just different ways to experience it and just the different venues that you choose well, I guess we'll just go to it. For a movie, right? You can have like stadium seating. You can sit out in a campground. You can have a starry sky. You can have a black void. There's a lot of different ways you can watch movies, and we've even talked, recently. Nobody's going to the movies, especially now. Nobody's going to go into the movie theater. So wouldn't it be amazing if this was the moment that the big studios said, you know what, fuck it, we're already not getting people in here. Let's start putting big movies into this VR platform, and maybe we draw people into VR even more so, because this is going to be something that isn't going to go away for a while. This is going to be sticking around, and if we believe what I'm reading, which I do believe, that this could keep coming back. People could get it again. So I mean, we could be dealing with this for longer than we think, and I still might want to see a new movie, and it'd be nice to be able to see it from VR with my loved one. So
yeah. When I first started contemplating this subject matter, this was one of the first things that popped into my mind, because nobody wants to go to the cinema until you can't go to the cinema anymore. And now, all of a sudden, this isn't an option. You just can't ever go see a movie anymore because you're either quarantined, or even if you're not quarantined, you're just afraid to get around that large gathering of people, and you're afraid you might get infected. It kind of sucks to not have the freedom to do that. But if you have a VR headset, you can do just that by going into big screen, entering into big screen cinema. Not only can you see some blockbuster movies on a virtual theater setting, or one of many settings, I guess I should say. There's tons of different theaters you can go to, or arenas or rooms to view your movies. But they also sell tickets for 3D movies as well. So, and in many cases, the 3D effect that you're getting inside the headset is superior to the 3D effect that you get at the cinema, right?
Yeah, it's only way it's not going to be superior is if it's not filmed the right way. Like there's no way you're going to get the same experience in a movie theater that you're going to get in your headset. It's designed and it's doing the 3D right there and in real time, whereas you're wearing your glasses and it's just not the same. If it's filmed right, it's going to look better in the headset every time, in my opinion. And you know what I like about this as well is you don't even have to pay shit, man. You can watch your own movies. You can download a 3D movie, and you could, invite your family member in. You guys could watch, or you could, like me, last week I watched Survivor on a big screen in a movie theater just because I wanted to. I wanted to be in VR that day and I wanted to watch something, so I was gonna watch Survivor anyway. So if you watch a cool show like Survivor or one of your other lame ones you guys probably watch, well, or you're thinking mine is lame, but no, there's always something you could be watching, and I just think it's cool. I think it's a very good venue, something that you can do with family and friends.
Well, that's the cool thing about it, right? There's any number of public rooms that you can go to watch movies, or even just chill out and talk with people you've never met before, or you can create your own private room, invite your friends and family. Anybody that has a VR headset can come into this thing, come into your room, and then your screen is on the wall, your literal computer screen, and anything that you can play on your computer, you can broadcast to your friends and loved ones who have come to your party. Just an outstanding idea for an application in VR, and as good as an idea as it was 3 months ago, it could be a real lifesaver in this new world that's emerging.
Yeah, let's think about that, man. There's people that have been in China still stuck there, man. 6-8 weeks. I can't imagine, dude. Like I was thinking about that today. At least I have a balcony I can go out and stand on the sun or something. If I were to get really actually stuck in here, then I at least want to be out in the sun for a little bit. So,
yeah, and we can absolutely do it through the profound power of what is modern VR.
Yeah.
All right, so let's say movies aren't your thing, Roots. Let's say that you're into music, or you're just in the community in general, and you want to go to a party full of friendly, happy people who are just there to have a good time. I think we've been pretty vocal over the last couple of months at just what a great experience the Wave beta is. And again, what Wave is it's a platform for aspiring DJs and recording artists to put on performances that are not only musical, but they have some jaw-dropping visuals as well, don't they, Rich?
Yeah, especially if you go to Scott Marshall's show. But yeah, no, like you said, it's so cool the way, everybody in there, 99% of the people I've ran into were really cool, and very social. You get to these groups of people you run into, and you're seeing Band Killer, and everybody's just very, it's not cliquish, you know what I mean? They're very accepting to everybody. So I don't know, I really enjoyed it, and it's a good way to feel like you're in the presence of about 20, 30, 40 people, and you're teleporting to different groups and having discussions, and it would just be a good way to feel like you're around people when you're not around people.
Yeah, the people in here are really cool. It was really an eye-opening experience getting to know the community inside the Wave beta, because, we were kind of oblivious to the fact that there's this whole other community of VR enthusiasts that aren't gamers at all. Like the only reason that they use VR are for these social experiences. And again, pretty surprising to learn, wasn't it?
Yeah, it shocked the hell out of me when people started saying like I got this Cosmos for the wave, like it's for this. And then in the same breath, people are like, Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, what? Like Boneworks? I don't know. I don't even know what you're talking about. And we were like, what the fuck is happening? Where am I at? Because these people outside of the gaming were just as involved in the VR world as we were. They, you know what I mean? Like they were just in the same exact level, but then they just so oblivious like we were about the wave. You know, I didn't know it existed. So it's just two different sides of the same coin. And it's just cool to see that that exists and to experience it. Try something different, right?
Yeah, and it's not like when you go into this thing either that you get locked into these social gatherings and that's all you can do is just be around 30 people. If you need a break and you want to get out, you just have to walk out the door, Roots, and there's this big overworld that's full of things to discover. There's all kinds of amazing items and locations that you can find if you've got a little bit of time and you don't mind roaming around.
Yeah. What I thought was cool is even just the going 2 or 3 teleports away from people. It's like you're in the whatever they're saying just disappears because it's, you know, you're now far enough to not hear them. So even when I would be in a party atmosphere, I would just teleport to a different side of it away from everybody. And then I was by myself looking out into the expanse of all the weird stuff going on and the colors and just really enjoying myself. Or even if I felt like I didn't want to hear anybody at all, I just turned the volume off for people. And then I'm just listening to music and everything else. And it just gives you a lot of options, you know, so sometimes it's nice to be around people, but not be around them, if that makes sense. You want to see them, but you don't want to hear them. So,
Right. Yeah. And another really cool thing about this, you know, many of these experiences and games that we're going to talk about today, we're talking about them because it's an opportunity to use your headset to go to another world. But unlike those other experiences, the wave won't just allow you the opportunity to go to another world. This thing will put you in another friggin' dimension if you want to go, right?
Yeah, and it's so big. It's like you said, the overworld, and that's one of the things that we're stressing on this is like sometimes you can go into these worlds and even though you're stuck in this small room, it feels like you're going for miles and miles and you're teleporting around and you're exploring, and it just gives you that feeling that you're in a big space when you're confined to a small space. So
yeah, absolutely. An amazing application, an amazing experience every time we go in there, full of amazing people. And it's free.
it's free.
Just like big screen, the wave is free. So anybody who picked up their headset or was gifted one for Christmas, you can do this stuff now, as long as you got the PC to push it.
Yeah, check it out.
And of course, Roots, if you're looking for a place you can go, hang out with a lot of people, do a lot of different activities for free, I think Rec Room's pretty much second to none in this department, right?
Yeah, there's so much you can do. And the fact that this, you know, and this is one of the things that people don't realize, and I only realize it because, you know, trying to hang out with different people that have quests when I have the Rift S, there's only limited things you can do together with a quest person, and this is one of the best ones, man. There's so many different quests to do, the you know, just the environment, it's just everything. It's just really cool.
Yeah, and another big plus when it comes to Rec Room, as you know, it's got to be hard to be quarantined and locked down if you're a habitual sex offender who preys upon innocent little children. I'm just kidding. But this was my ass backwards sick way of saying there's a lot of kids in Rec Room. But that's not necessarily always a bad thing, is it,
No,
Roots?
and I think people take the wrong approach. And anybody that's been with me in any social experience, it doesn't matter who it is. If somebody comes in the room, I greet them. Just that's just the way I am. And like even today, I was playing Gunheart with Scion, and somebody came into our mission we were doing, and I was like, "Hey, Miami, whatever, what's going on?" He's like, "Oh, you know him?" I'm like, "No." I just act like I know him. I like to incorporate. I like to say, "Hey, what's going on?" You know, I like to mess with people, talk to them, whatever. And you'd be surprised. I've played a couple of missions or quests with just random people and had kids in there, and they've been really cool. You know, I mean, not every kid's douchey. You know what I mean? Like, but like you said, you know, there's a lot of weird world, so sometimes you get kind of weirded out in that respect. But I don't know, man. I just try to make their time fun. You know, like I've got kids, and I just think some people have no heart, Wes. I think that's the problem. So,
Yeah. No, the problem is a lot of kids don't have manners.
well,
But
that could be it
that
too.
doesn't mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't mean that all of them don't. And again, uh, the really great thing about Rec Room is that you have options. You don't have to go into the general population in there. Uh, you can do almost everything in Rec Room privately with friends, so that you have to invite people and for them to come along with you. But um, I think in terms of sheer quantity of stuff to do, I think Rec Room takes the cup, doesn't it?
Yeah, especially since it's free, and it's one of those things that blows me away still. And it's kind of cool that you know, so many different companies came together to fund it to make sure that it was going to stay free, and it's done exactly what it was supposed to do. It's just created something that, you know, there's nothing worse than getting something like a console, especially back in the day, and you had that one game and that was it. You know what I mean? Like, there's no, you could buy a Quest today and you could have all sorts of shit you could play today, or any of the systems, because there's so many cool games and experiences that are free because they've done a really good job of making that something that comes with VR, you know? So I don't know. It's cool.
Yeah, and a great job done by the devs making this multi-platform, cross-platform. You can even do Rec Room from a flat screen if that's something that floats your boat. I really don't see the appeal of it outside of VR,
Well,
but
but what if your friend isn't in VR, but you still want to hang out with them? That's still, you know, like, sucks to be them, but I'm hanging out with you, dude, and you're with me, but you're on your PC and you're looking through your fucking window, bro. But yeah, no, I think it'd be a lot more cooler to have a PC friend as I'm in VR, but vice versa. But it's all about still hanging out with in quarantine, right? So
right, well, exactly. So yeah, Rec Room, absolutely number one in terms of content. But maybe big gatherings aren't your thing. Maybe you like something on a more relaxed, laid back, smaller scale. Maybe you want to go someplace where there aren't so many kids. Maybe you want to go a place where everybody knows your name and they're always glad you came. I'm talking about Sports Bar Roots. Sports Bar VR. It is what it says it is. It's a virtual sports bar. They've got some pretty awesome pool. From what I hear, this is still to this day the best game of billiards in VR,
isn't
right?
that crazy? You know, like it's and this has got so many different types of games in it. And you know, always used to love air hockey growing up, so even being able to play that is pretty cool. But yeah, it's definitely one of the better pool games that I've played. I do own this game, and I need to go into it more. So
Yeah, this is just one of those things that the atmosphere is just bound to put you in a good mood, right? Because anytime you're going in real life to one of these uh, dive bars or sports bars or anything that looks like this, you're always kind of having a good time, right?
mm,
So hopefully you picked up a few six packs along with your toilet paper before you got quarantined. Because if you did so, there's a good time just waiting to happen in sports bar.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. I was like, man, I need to make sure I get my beer stocked up and get ready to go, just in case there's some NASCAR going on or something. But no, I don't know. Yeah, that definitely would be make it a little bit more fun for sure. But yeah,
Well, let me ask you this: you said that you need to get in there more. We've already talked about, directly after this show, doing some multiplayer of some sort. Why not? Why don't we just jump into
sports bar. Yeah,
sports bar for a little while?
yeah.
I mean,
I'm down.
yeah.
I definitely we've put that out there, and if you're watching this live right now, we are going to be doing some VR after the show, and this could be one of the games. So definitely show up and let's do it. Although this one
Yeah,
does cost $20, this isn't free. From Cherry Pop Games, right? And I don't know if it's usually they do have sales on this quite a bit. So if $20 seems like too much, just wait a little bit. You'll be able to get it on sale. You just won't be able to play with us after the show.
Yeah, it's frequently on sale for $10. I've seen it as low as $6 and $7. So you can pick up Sports Bar pretty cheap. $20. I think almost nobody paid $20 for it.
Yeah, no, I probably did, but back in the day, I don't know. I maybe.
But this looks like a ton of fun. I love shooting pool. I love air hockey, and I like just hanging out, man. And guess what? I do have a 6-pack in there. So guess what? Party time, Roots.
And it's your Friday, right?
That's true. I don't have to work tomorrow. Pretty soon I'm going to be dying like, God, please let him call me back into work tomorrow.
Yeah, I need work.
Please let the quarantine end.
I'll tell you what, man, that's what, the saving grace for me is exteriors, because I'm foreseeing a day where people are like, I don't want that guy coming in my house, dude. Like, I don't want bugs, but I don't want him in here either. And so it makes it easier for me. I'll just spray you outside. You stay inside, keep your sick, and I'll go back home, hopefully. Yeah. So,
well, maybe your job description will be tweaked just a little bit, and you'll become a virus exterminator.
That'd be nice.
You can get one of those cool masks from like the Dark Ages with like the bird beak and the black hat. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I could be one of those guys in China going around spraying people with chemical. I wonder if it's chemical or it could be colloidal silver in a mist form, because that's about the only thing that seems to work against a lot of those viruses. So, but how sketchy, right?
You could be a superhero.
Yeah,
Mister.
Yeah. Ooh, hey, that works, Mister. Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
Okay. One more Roots. One more social experience. It's another $20 deal. But the caveat here is if you have a subscription to Viport Infinity, you can just play it there. You can experience from there. It's one we talked about recently. The Museum of Other Realities. One thing that VR has done a good job of is museums. There's museums of art. There's museums of history. There's tons of museums in VR, many of them very, very detailed and well done, but they're not all co-op social experiences. And I feel like that's one of the things that really makes the Museum of Other Realities stick out, right?
Yeah, the fact that this thing is so huge as well. Like we were talking about that the other day. You got the map. You could teleport because it's so big, but why would you want to, man? I'm quarantined. I want to slowly roam around this whole big fucking museum of expanse for 2 hours and come back out, because you're going to feel like, wow, I really did get into a lot of area, and then come back out to your room or wherever you're stuck. I don't know. I think it's really good. And like you said, it can be free if you have Viveport. If you don't have Viveport, buy it, because you're fucking stuck in your room, man. Like, how many games? You got 760 some games you can try, and you can even try, some gems that we've talked about in the past, like Taco Face, and some of these really, really high end ones. But I was even Oshiwash. You can mess with a foot. But Sports Bar, for all I know, I doubt it is, but it might be on there as well. I don't know. It's been out long enough it could be free on Viveport Infinity. So,
Well, since we already put out the call to arms and the call to action to go in the sports bar, in real time, Roots, it's that time of the show where we go to Viveport in real time.
yeah, it's going to start becoming a staple, right? Let's go to Viveport and check and see if this thing's on there. You know,
it's going to become a staple if Viveport sponsors me. If not, I'm going to cut it out.
Yeah, they better sponsor soon.
All right, let's see what Viveport has to
Send
say
me a
about
Cosmos, man. Like, you know, PD me up. I want I want a Vive Cosmos. I want to talk about it.
All right, so when we search for sports bar in Viveport, it gives us Racket NX.
Oh, that's close.
Not really.
Well, you could maybe play it in the sports. So I'm assuming it's not even on Viveport at all.
But anyway, it did pop up the Museum of Other Realities in the banner.
Yeah, that's free.
So they have that going for
them. And, you know, some of these other games we're about to talk, the actual games may be on there as well. Well, actually, maybe one of them might be on there, or two. But the other ones, I guarantee, will not be.
Yeah, I'm thinking that there's one for sure, maybe two. But anyway, the Museum of Other Realities, a vast museum that you can experience with a friend, which is just awesome. But that's not all this thing has to offer, because it isn't flat paintings that you're looking at here. We're talking about 3D art, something that has come to life or been reinvigorated rather by the advent of VR in recent years. So you don't just get a look at the art, Roots. You get to go into the art and look at it from every possible vantage point, from that of a flea to that of the good Goliath, and everything in between, right?
Yeah, it was amazing. And like you said, just looking at it from a different perspective can change the whole artwork. And it's kind of cool because, you know, 10 years ago or 5 years ago, let's be more accurate, you know, or a few, when the VR was first coming out, I could see at a real museum having one piece of art that was a VR headset that you got to go in as that one piece of art. Now you got the whole museum where all of it is that. And like I said, it's so huge that if you were to actually teleport around the whole thing, I guarantee it would take probably a couple hours to look at everything without the map. And that's really cool. So,
yeah. And if you're being confined to a small space by force, by your government, and you haven't seen people for a couple of weeks, hey, being able to go to this giant museum with a friend is a godsend, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Anything to take your mind off of the armed troops outside your door, keeping you in there. And maybe not. Maybe they're not that extreme, but yeah.
Maybe they are.
Maybe they are. Yeah. Yeah. Coming to a city near you.
Anyway, that was 5 social experiences in VR that can help you to escape quarantine, if only for a little while. But maybe that's not your scene. Maybe you don't like just hanging out. Maybe you don't like just taking in the vibe and viewing things and appreciating the sights. Maybe you're a gamer. Maybe you need to be doing something. And that's what these next 5 games are going to do for you. They're going to allow you not only to escape quarantine through your headset, but they're going to allow you to go on an adventure while you're doing it. So these are 5 games. We did make them 5 co-op games, so you can bring a friend. You can at least bring one friend to all of these. And we didn't want to just pick any games, any co-op games. So these games in particular are games that give you a sense of presence in a vast area. So not only are you playing a game, but you feel like you're somewhere outdoors with miles and miles of space around you in all directions. So if you're starting to feel that claustrophobia from being confined to your room for so long, all you should be able to do, all you should need to do rather, is pop into any one of these, and you're going to feel uh, you can just travel for miles,
Yeah,
right?
like you've gone somewhere. That's the whole key, is like when you actually go somewhere in VR, you want to feel like you went somewhere. And that's one of the beauties of these games, is not only does it have the presence to make you feel like you're there, but it also is so big and expansive that you really do feel like you've traveled somewhere. Again, you're not stuck in your room. So
Yeah, and the cool thing about a lot of or some of these games is it's not just horizontal. You can travel vertically as well, and that's the case. Certainly the case when we talk about Windlands 2. Windlands 2 is a perfect escape from your quarantine because not only are these maps gigantic, but you get to swing around them like Spider-Man, and you can dive to the depths or you can climb to the mountaintops. And Roots, you can bring up to 3 friends with you at a time.
yeah, I don't know. This is still one of my favorite multiplayer co-op experiences I've had, was with you and Alex and Justin, and all of us just battling the bosses and swinging around and watching Mamefan just fucking rock like he does everything. All of a sudden you're like, where's Mamefan? And he's like way ahead of everybody, zipping up, It just was fun, man. I really did. I felt like we really were traveling somewhere together, and it was just a lot of fun. And Scion, I think you're wrong. This game's amazing. You need to try it. Forget about number 1. Number 2 is way better.
Yeah, dude. This game, not only is it bigger in scale than the original one, but this one actually has a purpose. Like there's a game here, and don't get me wrong. If this was just the map and was a sandbox style game, co-op, it would still be freaking phenomenal just to go and move around these maps with your friends. But the fact that there's a story here, that there's NPCs in there that are basically telling you to go fetch stuff so that they can defeat the evil, it really brings it to a new level, doesn't it?
Yeah, I did. I felt they were a little lazy, Wes, because every time I turned around, they were like, "Hey, we need you to go over there," and I'm like, "You can do it too, fucker," But nah, yeah, it was one of those games that until we finished it, I wanted to keep playing, and I still would love to go back in and play it again, just because the movement is unparalleled, and it just felt so good. So.
Yeah, how good does it feel to swing from these treetops, but at the same time, uh, grab your bow and fire 3 or 4 bolts off in midair, and then catch your swing and just do it right in stride.
Yeah, and just the way you move around is just, it really does take a little bit of coordination, and before long you're just zipping, you're grabbing, you're pulling yourself, you're yanking yourself up, you're flying in ways you didn't think you could. And it's one of those games that gives you a sense of presence and feeling that you can't get in most other games. It just the swinging, the height, just everything about it. It's unique. So
Yeah, and I know what some of you are thinking, that these are rather simplistic graphics. It's simplistic art. There's not a whole lot of detail to it, but the gameplay itself is so immersive, and the 3D effect is so heavy that it isn't an issue. You still feel completely present in this cartoony world.
well, and the colors pop so well. It's so bright and vibrant, and just everything about it. It doesn't, like you said, it doesn't feel cartoony. It's one of those things where it doesn't translate. Watching the video absolutely is not the same as being in there. It just is, it's different. So.
Yeah, the feel of just swinging around is a complete unique feeling to this game. I haven't done anything else in VR that feels like that. Not even the Spider-Man game feels like Windlands.
Yeah, especially when you're like you were saying, you're way up top and you take that jump, and you fall as far as you can, and then the last second you grab something, and I don't know, man. It's definitely a different feel than any other height game I've played. So
Absolutely amazing experience. Still going for the launch price of $30, Roots. But it's held up, man. I gotta say, I still kind of feel like it's worth $30.
yeah, I'd pay $30 for it, hands down. I mean, obviously, if you can get it on sale, I could see $20 being a lot more palatable. But $30 is definitely well worth what you get from it, and it's not a short game. I mean, it took us what 5 or 6 hours with 4 of us to beat it, over time, I believe, anyway. But it definitely is a fairly long game, and it was fun.
And in real time, Roots, your man Weasel has confirmed this is available with Viveport Infinity. So you can join your friends in Windlands 2 if you have a subscription to Viveport Infinity.
Yeah, what a deal, man. I'm telling you, I don't like HTC, but I like Viveport. That's about it. Only because of Taco Face, man. I would have never, ever known about Taco Face if it wasn't for Viveport. So
yeah, so let's say, Roots, that you don't want to swing around trees like Spider-Man. Let's say you wanted to not only leave your room, not only leave your country, let's say you want to leave this world and you want to go out into the universe with a friend. I don't think there's any bigger game in the world, flat or VR, in terms of size inside the game, than No Man's Sky. It's limitless universe to explore, planet upon planet upon planet, ready to be tamed and settled by you. And I don't even know what the limit of people is that you can bring into this thing with you. You can bring a whole gaggle of friends into No Man's Sky with you, and tame the wild unknown. Roots, if there's a way to go to the extreme when it comes to VR escapism, I think No Man's Sky is that, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean, you could spend hours upon hours, not only just exploring, but it's a survival game. Like, you're building shelters. I mean, there's so much more to it, and like you said, there's infinite planets to explore, and just giving you that sense of going somewhere. Even myself, like my extent of this game is literally playing it long enough to build my ship, fly off the planet to another planet, and then I stopped. And so that took me a couple hours, man, like, just to do that. So I would imagine, if I really dug in, I mean, I can't even imagine what kind of shenanigans I could get in with like a Scion there right next to me, since he loves these type of games. But
yeah, man, I gotta think that if you have a headset and the sole purpose of the headset is to escape your room, and you only get to pick one game to do you for a year, I gotta feel like No Man's Sky would have to be that game just on size alone, right?
yeah, I definitely give you a lot to do for sure. And I know people have spent that much time in this game. There's some people that are in the Discord that they've spent a shitload of time. And I'm a little jealous because I've spent so little time, and I don't know what I'm doing on there, Wes. I never found the vehicles, the buggies that I could fly, drive around. I never saw the water. I think I've seen an ice planet. That's about it. So.
This one seems like a Scion special. Why doesn't he rave about this one more?
I don't know. I don't even know if he's tried off to ask him, because if he has it, I guarantee he'll want to go into it. And if you don't have it, Scion, you need to pick this up.
This is a Scion special for sure.
Yeah, screw the forest, man. Let's check out No Man's Sky.
Be careful, Roots.
Yeah.
Be careful. You might get Scion hooked on another game, and this one's procedurally generated. He can't find the end of it.
That's true.
It'll just be forever.
There is no end to this game, right?
There is no end.
Yeah, he blew me away. This is a side note today, but I asked him if he was excited for Half-Life Alyx, and he said that he is, but he's not, because he's got his backlog. He asked to play through what he started first before it comes out, so he won't be trying it for a month or two. And I was like, if I could have fallen over, I would have fallen in real life. I was like, well, what? You know? I can't imagine waiting, man. Like on the 23rd, I will be probably leaving work to come home and play a little bit and going back to work. You know, that's how much I want to play this game.
Yeah, and I mean, rightfully so. I mean, it's going to be a level of shine that we've never seen on a game before, right?
Yeah, I'm excited.
As am I.
It's almost worth quarantine for that game for Alyx.
Yeah, it makes you jealous of the people in quarantine, at least for a little while.
Well, if they're getting paid for their quarantine, yes. Because if I go into quarantine, I ain't getting shit. So no, I don't want to go into quarantine.
All right, Roots. What if you want to escape and you would like the sensation of just soaring and just flying through midair with the greatest of ease, but something like Windlands, like we mentioned before, maybe that's a little too cartoony, not realistic enough for you. That's where Rush VR comes in from the Binary Mill. This is a base jumping game, and the whole crux of this is that it's just beautiful. The scenery in this game is stunning, especially on PC. But the important thing about this is when you jump and you have your wingsuit and you're running down the tracks, you can really feel it. You feel like you're gliding. That they nailed it when it comes to the gameplay in this. And if that's not enough, if the beautiful vistas and the sensation of flying isn't enough, up to 7 friends can come with you in this, dude.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. And it does. It makes you feel like you're jumping off a cliff and you're just flying down there. You're racing. There's competitiveness. There's the leaderboards. There's everything that a growing boy needs to get into VR and play. You got 90 tracks. And every time it's different, man. It's not like it's not easy in the sense of, you're just going to be nonchalantly going. I mean, it really makes a difference on how you angle your body and whipping it back up and catching that air. And it's like you said, they really nailed it. And it does make you wonder how you go from this game to the other game that they nailed that we were talking about earlier. It's like 2 different games, but they did both so well.
Yeah. And, I got to imagine if you're having some mental issues dealing with the fact that you've just been staring at the same damn 4 walls for a month, that something like Rush VR would be like therapy, right? Man, just to be free after being locked down for so long, having this complete freedom to just glide through these vast areas. I gotta imagine it's like medicine for the psyche.
Yeah, it is, because you're getting out. You may not physically be leaving your room, but we've talked about how when you put on that headset, you are transported to a new world, and in this you're zipping around, and I guarantee, like, it's just there's so much more to this than like we're even saying. I think that the rest of the world is going to go crazy, and we're going to be the same VR players left to run the world. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
So
Yay for President Weasel.
Yes. President Evil Weasel, because that's who I want in there. Yeah. Maybe not. Maybe it wouldn't be good.
All right. Anyway, we'll imprison and torture Phil Spencer straight away, and the government will seize Xbox.
Mm.
And I'm going to play Hellblade 2 in VR, Roots.
Hell yeah. And this one is I guess what, $20. We did forget to mention No Man's Sky was $60. So that is a steep price, but I think they always have it on sale at half price. But either way, that's a good deal for half price. I don't know if I would pay 60, but for Rush $20, I think it's worth $20 for sure.
Yep, man. In real time, we are about to confirm.
Yeah, this was the other one that I thought for sure probably is on Infinity.
100%. 100%. Looking at it right here, you can play this on Viveport Infinity with your subscription. Awesome, right?
Yeah, so we joke about, we do joke about Taco Face and Giggy Foot, or what's it called? What's that one called? Ashi Foot, Ashi Wash.
Ashi Wash.
Yeah, we joke about that, but man, there's some really good games. I mean, this is case in point. For $12.99, you've already gotten this. You got Windlands 2, you got the museum. The 3 solid. Was the bar one in there? I can't remember. I can't. No, that's not. Yeah. Not. So you got those 3, and that's just 3 that we talked about. Definitely worth. And somehow we're doing the plug for Viveport again without the free membership. But yeah, no, it's definitely a free game you can check out. Rush, check it out.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing with Rush, Roots. It's a great sensation being able to fly, but it's a little different from gliding, because you can't go back up, right? You constantly moving on a downward trajectory. You can kind of glide up a little bit, but you have to, start descending again within a 2 to 3 seconds. And the whole track normally takes around 3 or 4 minutes, and then you're on the ground. You have to go to a new track. Let's say you wanted that to last much longer than that 3 or 4 minutes, and you wanted to glide over a long distance, and not only glide, but maybe you like to explore. Maybe you want to look for things with a friend. Maybe you want to play out an epic adventure while you're doing all that. That's what Stormland gives you, Roots. And when it comes to flying and gliding mechanics, I think this one takes the gold medal, doesn't it?
Yeah, this is definitely the old shoe of VR for sure. If anybody doesn't know, that's what it got the old shoe award in our Game of the Year award, or whatever you want to call it, the end of the year awards. And it deserved it. It was definitely one of the best games I've played in 2019. One of my favorite games as far as movement and exploring. Like you said, I don't even know how far you've gotten, because you spent so much time exploring and just roaming around, gathering shit. There's just so much to do in this game. And like you said, you get to do it with a friend, and you get to have cool guns, shoot shit, blow up robots, and it's cool. The only thing that I think this game I would wish had more of would have been story, even though it had a story. It was, again, another amazing game that came out last year that the story was not as full as I would have liked. So
yeah, but the gameplay and the world are just spectacular. I haven't ranked them, but I would imagine this is probably a top 10 VR game all time.
Yeah.
Right? Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. Hands down. Especially with what's came out. It's definitely one of the most polished games. And, a lot of people didn't like the way that the progression, or how you had different weeks, you finished it and then went to the next one, cycles or whatever they called it. They were trying to do a lot more of what flat gaming does and give you reasons to come back in. And I believe that it got a little weird because they got bought by Sony, and then things kind of got weird. They couldn't do everything they wanted to do. So, but yeah, no, this is one of the best games I played last year for sure.
Yeah. I mentioned a moment ago that if I had to pick one for like a year in this situation, this escapist scenario, that I would probably pick No Man's Sky. That's not true. I probably
this one
would pick Stormland, because there's so many different ways you can play this game, and they're all so fun.
Yep.
The sense of presence is phenomenal. The story campaign is lots of fun. Exploring, loads of fun. And the movement in the game might be the funnest that I've ever played. So, yeah, just a masterpiece of a game.
Yeah, it was definitely one of them. Like I said, movement wise, one of the best.
All right, and that brings us down to our last one. And some of you might find this as a bit of an odd pick, but honestly, when I was thinking about these games and spacious co-op games that give you a sense of presence in a large environment, this was the first game I thought of. And then when I told my wife about the topic, this was the first thing she said.
Mm.
And so we must be onto something here. I'm talking about Farpoint. And yes, Farpoint is a story-driven FPS game that's fairly linear. Like the maps are linear maps, but they don't feel confining when you're in there, do they, Roots? You're looking out over these large vistas and these vast distances, and you absolutely feel like you're on an alien planet 100%, and not a small one, like a gigantic alien landscape. You feel kind of minuscule in comparison, don't you?
Yeah, plus like you were saying, you know, for the multiplayer, the maps are huge, and you I don't know, you and your wife have done date night where you guys have gone in and played Farpoint together. So I mean, this is a perfect case in point of how you can hang out with somebody that you love in VR and just chill and kill big spiders and all sorts of weird shit. And I kind of like the way that they do it too, to where, you know, at least one of the modes, well, don't you kind of go on different tracks or something? I don't know, man. It's definitely, maybe that's something else I'm thinking of, but no, it's definitely, one of the coolest experiences I've had when I played with you. And then getting to use the aim controller is amazing.
Yeah, the aim controller really makes any of the games that it's compatible with, it makes a huge difference. But the Farpoint is the aim controller game. Not only the OG aim controller game, it's still the best aim controller game, in my opinion. And yeah, what you said here about the co-op gameplay, it's just, it's fun. You know, other games will tell you communication is key. This one, you either communicate or the drone is going to blow your buddy up, right?
Those drones are fucked up, man. They don't mess around, dude. You got to take them out quick first, you know? So.
Yeah. You got to take them out first or you're going to get a missile up your ass.
Yeah. It's no joke. I'll tell you what, when I got to the very end of the game and everything went crazy, I saw what you were saying about some of the things that you go up against, and it was pretty crazy. But yeah, this is definitely one of the games that I would say is really amazing to play with somebody else. A very immersive way to get away from the whole quarantine thing. And this one's actually a pretty decent price, right? $20. That's not too bad.
Yeah, launched at like 40 or $50, but since it's been around a few years at this point, $20. And you know, I think that's a steal for this game. We kind of surmised that Stormlands was probably a top 10 VR game all time. At least in my book, Farpoint is definitely a top 10 VR game of all time. I absolutely love this game, not only for the story mode, but for the co-op, for the challenge maps. There's even a versus mode that you can play against someone in with different styles of matches. Just a masterpiece of a game and a great way to escape quarantine through your PSVR headset.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, friends, I think that's going to wrap it up. What do you think? What would be your preferred avenue out of isolation through your headset? Be sure to leave a comment down below. If you're new to the channel and you haven't already, please subscribe, click the notification bell, and that way you can keep up with every Monday show, as well as every other piece of content that we produce for you here on the Virtual Strangers channel. With that said, friends, we'd like to thank you once again for watching. And for Roots, I'm Wes. We'll see you in Sports Bar, friends. Bye-bye.
Take it easy.